Hey, what's going on everybody out there? I'm Jakejames Lugo and welcome to the channel where you'll find some of the most fair and honest game reviews out here. And now that I've already completed a review from Metroid Fusion on the GBA, which you guys can check out here by the way, why not check out the other Game Boy Advance Metroid game, especially since we're getting ready for Metroid Dread to come out on the Nintendo Switch soon. And what's interesting about this one is that a lot of you out there I know have never played the original Metroid, and this right here is probably the next best option for you to get caught up to speed with the entire series. For any younger gamer who didn't grow up during the golden age of the NES, you'll have another option to play through the first story of the Metroid series without needing to dust off any old console. Metroid Zero Mission is a remake of the original game that was released on the Game Boy Advance by Nintendo in 2004. It's a completely reworked and reimagined version of Samus Aran's first adventure. It received a warm reception because of its beautiful 2D graphics and updated gameplay elements from later Metroid games that were implemented into the beloved classic. In addition to this, however, longtime Metroid fans were treated to brand new content that expanded upon the original story, including new areas and other interesting stuff. But speaking of, what's the story of Metroid for those that never played it before? Bounty hunter Samus Aran is deployed on a mission to the planet Zebes after space pirates attack a Galactic Federation space station. The space pirates steal samples for experiments that contain hostile creatures known as Metroid. These are parasitic organisms that have the ability to evolve and become incredibly deadly bioweapons. For her mission, Samus needs to infiltrate the planet and stop the space pirates from continuing their research, attacking their leader Mother Brain within their fortress. That's the basic setup of the game directly carried over from the original NES game. Luckily in the remake, things are presented in a much nicer package and given more details to flesh out Samus' first adventure. So while the story of this game is identical to the original experience on the NES, what makes this game very unique and stand out is the presentation of everything. How all the stuff that made the original Metroid really good is completely enhanced for the Game Boy Advance. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I love the 2D sprites here. I think that everything has just got a huge upgrade, but also the remixed music. When you hear that Bronze Star theme, or at least any of the themes that you got from the original Metroid, and you hear how remixed and retailored they are, you really take a step back and are like, yeah, I really like this. Like, it just makes everything feel that much more important and that much more dire and adventurous. Like, everything is just enhanced, and I love that. That's what a remake is really supposed to do. In addition to all of this, I actually like some of the events that happen in the post-game / epilogue of the events of the original Metroid. So all the brand new stuff that we get in Zero Mission, where we get to control Samus in her Zero Suit version, as opposed to having her Power Suit, that stuff is pretty cool, and it's actually great for longtime Metroid fans, where we get to see Samus like actually do stuff in her Zero Suit. It's a little bit different, especially if you're a fan of Super Smash Bros. However, if I'm being a little bit nitpicky, and we'll get more into the specifics later on, I think this section of the game maybe lingers on for a little bit too long. I just feel like, in comparison to the rest of the earlier portions of the game, like the actual Metroid section, it just feels like a stark contrast and totally changes up like the momentum and just the way that the game flows. So it's very, very different. It feels, again, literally like that whole section was pasted onto the end of the original Metroid. But again, that's a small little nitpick. It actually is handled pretty well. There's some story reasons and explanations for what happens in that section of the game. But again, I'm just being a little bit nitpicky here. So besides the story stuff, let's get into the gameplay, because Metroid games are all about their gameplay. Besides the environments, the exploration, and the story, the gameplay is what's really key here. So does Zero Mission actually take everything from the original Metroid and actually make it better, or just awesome in general? The gameplay in Metroid Zero Mission is nearly identical to its predecessor on the GBA. Samus can grab onto ledges, use her speed boost ability to break through certain obstacles, deploy power bombs while in her morph ball mode, and even take out certain blocks with her power beam after acquiring specific items. A lot of this stuff we've seen in later games after the release of the original Metroid, but now they're brought into here. The most helpful addition to the game is the inclusion of a map. The first Metroid game never had a map screen to refer to, which was a huge issue for many players who didn't want to use graph paper to chronicle their journey or use a guide to help them. But fortunately, the map is handled in the same way as in Metroid Fusion, and it's super helpful for indicating your next objective or what areas you haven't yet explored. Something of note is that the boss fights are exactly what you expected them to be. There's nothing really different about them from the original game, except for how they look. The visual upgrade allows iconic bosses like Ridley or Mother Brain to look phenomenal. However, a big change to this game are the new areas that you could explore that weren't included in the original. You could go to places like Criteria, Chozodia, and the Space Pirate Mothership after defeating Mother Brain to access the new story content. These new areas are interesting to explore, despite the plot getting in the way of your exploration when you first visit them. You honestly won't get to go off on your own to explore them until just before the final battle of the game. That's a standard thing for most Metroid titles, where you can't fully explore everything on the map until you open up the way to the last boss right before the ending. That didn't really bother me too much, but I know that some people might feel that you're rushing through some of the new areas as you reach the conclusion of the plot. So like I mentioned before, the one section of the game after all the original Metroid stuff, which I like for the most part, but when you're controlling Zero Suit Samus and the game mostly becomes a stealth game for a very brief period of time, that's when I feel like things go off the rails. It just becomes a lot more frustrating than the rest of the game and just completely changes up the momentum of the gameplay. I just don't think that it really meshes well compared to all the other stuff, even though it's still handled as best as it could. The thing about it that I find the most frustrating is when you get detected by the space pirates and you get destroyed by them because you're so ill-equipped to deal with them. Your pistol doesn't do damage, it just stuns them, and you take so much damage from their shots just by default. Again, Samus is out of her power suit, so it kind of makes sense in the context of the plot and the story, but as far as the game itself, when you're actually playing it, it just feels so different from the rest of the game, and I just don't like it as much as everything else. For some people, they might enjoy it, especially if they care about the universe and the lore of Metroid, because again, this is the one section we get to see Samus in her Zero Suit version actually doing different things outside of the power suit. And if anything, to be fair about it all, once you get the fully powered suit, then things are on. Then you could just go ham against the space pirates, and it's actually pretty satisfying, and you get the true ending of Zero Mission. But besides that, like I said, when you're just spending time as Zero Suit Samus trying to get around all these different space pirates and not get detected, it could get very freaking frustrating. One final thing I do want to mention, and we should acknowledge this, is that there is some extra content once you finish Zero Mission, you complete the main story of the game. You actually gain access to the original Metroid, which I think is pretty cool, but you also get other stuff including a hard mode, a time attack mode. If you connect this game to Metroid Fusion, you actually do the link cable stuff, like I mentioned in my previous review of that game, you get some bonus stuff. You actually get a gallery here, which is kind of cool, but personally, I would have rather had it where if I didn't have access to Metroid Fusion, give me access to the gallery still if I complete the game on like normal or hard mode, something like that where I could still see this stuff, even though I might not have access to that other game or at least another person with the game on hand to do the link cable communication. I feel like more options like that would at least be better for the player as opposed to just locking all that stuff off even though it's still in the game. For a series that's over 30 years old now, it's wild to see how far it's come since the beginning. But the question you all want to know is this: can I recommend that you play through Metroid Zero Mission on the Game Boy Advance? Oh yeah! This game still holds up very well. It's honestly one of the better remakes to a classic game that I've seen. You can honestly play through this version over the original and be totally good, even though I know a lot of purists out there would say otherwise. I find that the quality of life changes, new abilities from later entries of the series, and the overall visual upgrade really did a lot of great things for this beloved Nintendo classic. I would definitely put this high up on my list of favorite Game Boy Advance games alongside Metroid Fusion, which I also recommend to everyone, by the way. Unfortunately, there's no official way to play this game from the Nintendo eShop at the time of this video review, so you'll have to look for a cartridge and a working GBA to do so. But it's definitely worth the effort so you could play one of the most iconic Nintendo games in an entirely new fashion. And there you go, everybody. Those are my thoughts about Metroid Zero Mission on the Game Boy Advance. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my thoughts about this. I really believe, like I said before, that this is probably one of the best remakes to a classic video game that's out there. And it's a shame that you can't really play this on the Nintendo Switch currently at the time of making this video, especially if you want to get ready for Metroid Dread coming out on the Switch very soon. It's just, again, I would love to see this game just get, again, re-released in some form or fashion on the eShop, just so more people could play it, because I know a lot of people can't really go back to the original NES Metroid and really enjoy it for what it is. Granted, again, it was limited by the technology of the time, and there's other stuff that's been, like, great advancements since then. This is a prime way to enjoy that first original story in a brand new way. So if you're into Metroid, you definitely need to play this whenever you can. But as always, like any other game that I review on this channel, that's just my opinion and thoughts about Metroid Zero Mission. Let me know your own thoughts about this game down below in the comments section. Tell me, are you a big Metroid fan? Do you love Zero Mission or Metroid Fusion? What are some of the other Metroid games of the entire franchise, like Super Metroid, Other M, Metroid Prime, or anything else out there? Metroid Pinball, if you never played Metroid Pinball, that's another weird one out there that's actually kind of fun when you think about it. But like, let me know about some of that stuff, and tell me, what are some other games or classic games out there that you would love to see get the remake treatment, kind of like this? Put all that stuff down below in the comments section. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching this video. I appreciate your support and all your good vibes as always. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that bell icon too to support my channel for new videos each week. You could also join my Patreon for early access to brand new videos and other exclusive content. Don't forget to join my Discord server too and be part of the community I have over here. If you're into games, then you'll love interacting with all the great people who are part of it. Thanks again, guys. Peace out and stay epic, everybody.